hunchback sitting in a Roman jail. I haven't got anything in my hand but an old quill pen, but God says, write what I tell you to write. Paul wrote, I have run my race with patience. I've finished my course. I've kept the faith. Henceforth there's laid up for me a What's in your hand, little boy? All I've got is a slingshot, and the enemies of my people are great and big and more numerous than we are. Well, little David, go down to the brook and pick out a few stones and come on back and close your eyes if you want to and pull back that slingshot and let it go. And David killed the biggest enemy, the leader of the giants, against his people, and his people became free, just letting God guide a stone in his hand. And a few years passed, and David is a king. And God says, what's in your hand? He said, I've got a harp in my hand. He said, well, David, play on your harp. And he played, the Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. Maketh me to lie down in green pastures. Leadeth me beside still waters. Yea, though I walk through the valley and the shadow of death, I'll fear no evil. What's in your hand? My hand. Man hanging on a cross. I've got 2 nails in my hand. Father, I stretch my hands to thee. No other help I know. If thou withdraws thyself from me, whither shall I go? And that man with 2 nails in his hand split history in half.
Radio,
BC
the soul of
and
the Upper West Side.
Tonight, people of Cambridge, you've got God in your hand, and he'll let you win because he's on your side and walk with God, always in the majority. So walk with him and talk with him and work with him and stick together and fight together. And with God's hand in your hand, the victory will be accomplished here sooner than you dreamed, sooner than you hoped, sooner than you prayed for, sooner than you imagined. Good night and God bless you.
Wow. Reverend Dr. Adam Clayton Powell Jr. gave that speech, sermon, testimony called What's in Your Hand, and it touched me in such a magnificent way that when they said you have to come up with a name for your program, I said, What's in Your Hand? So that is the name of the program. And I have a fantastic guest today. I am super excited. Dr. Dravon James. She has a podcast of her own called Everyday Peace. She's a motivational speaker. She's a writer, author, and doing some magnificent things in the world today. Dr. Dravon James, how are you doing today?
If I told you, you wouldn't believe me.
You know.
I'm happy to be here.
So we have the term, what's in your hand?
Yes.
What becomes present for you?
When I hear that term, what's in your hand? Wow, I think that's the first time I've heard that speech in this question, but I got to tell you that all possibility in my Lord and Savior resides in these hands. So I got to say that's what's in my hand, all possibility. If I can dream it, I can have it, I can believe it, my Lord can supply it.
So the next thing is, how did you get here? Motivational speaker, writer. Now where did you grow up?
I grew up on the south side of, I'm from the south side of Chicago. Let me say, we traveled a bit between there and New England. So I went to school in New England for most of my formative years, but I'm from the south side of Chicago, and it framed a lot of who I am today.
So I know that Barack Obama spent some time in Chicago. Guy by the name of Michael Jordan spent some time in Chicago. Oprah Winfrey, Jesse Jackson, Minister Louis Farrakhan. I believe Elijah Muhammad had his home in Chicago as well, if I'm not mistaken. With all these prominent people, I'm hearing that, I've never been to Chicago, but I heard that Chicago is rough, in really bad shape. The projects, one project was so bad they had to tear it down. Now, I don't know Chicago, so you tell me.
Well, I think Chicago is, it represents love for me, but I am from the south side of Chicago, so most of what you're talking about is from the south side of Chicago, and uh, it'll grow you up. You put your trust in something. You put your trust in something. Hopefully, that trust will be in the Lord, right? And it's one of those places where I tell Chicago teaches you how to mind your business, and hopefully your business will be the Lord's business, but it does teach you that. And I've traveled a little bit in my lifetime. I now live in Baltimore. I've never been to any place like Chicago, but I love it. It's my home, and yeah, like any other major city, it has all of that stuff. But the people are loving. I've never met such a loving people before in my life than the people from the south side of Chicago.
Yeah, see that? We didn't know that. We heard gangs and shootings and murders. And this is what the media is portraying
Right.
of Chicago. It's just really, that's what the media is selling as far as Chicago is concerned.
Well, there's always two sides to every coin, right? For every one murder, there's a mother giving birth. There's a man and a woman making matrimony. I think it balances out. We only tell one side of the story.
So I would consider what you do is being involved in this thing called personal development. Question to you is, if personal development is so good, so wonderful, why aren't more people doing it?
Oh, that's a good question, because personal development is a lot of work. And we live in a society where we're told and taught that everything, should be, I guess, microwavable, commercial, that things should happen in commercial time. And so personal development takes a lifetime, right? It's becoming comfortable with who you are today, not who you were yesterday, not who you could be tomorrow, but being your best self in this moment, and realizing that even at your best self, there's still mountains to go, and there's road to travel, and that's all right. So that doesn't sound glamorous, although it is quite glamorous once you get on the pathway, but it doesn't sound glamorous. And I don't think that's, most people start and they realize, oh, this is hard work. You want me to keep focusing on me when I could focus on some celebrities? I could focus on getting lost in politics and blaming this person or that person. So I think that's why. But when people get on that personal development pathway and they really get serious about it, and they realize that the most loving earthly individual that they know is themselves, they can't stop. It becomes this quest for more of you so that you can give more of you away to the world. So it's quite a ride once you get on there, but you got to get on there for a while, and you got to fall off and get back on and not condemn yourself. So it's a work. People don't want that kind of work initially.
And then something goes wrong, and they go, oh, see, it doesn't work. That stuff doesn't work. That's just for the people that selling books and make their money. That's what it's all about. It's not going to help you. You're just helping them to get rich.
Right. And I always ask, I said, so if that doesn't work, what works for you in your life? How can the commercial or the politician or even the pastor work for you in your life? Those are guides for you to see you. That's what that is for, right? So we still keep looking outside of ourselves for the answer. I was on a call this morning at 5:30 this morning, and someone asked me about the Christian walk and about meditation. And I said, the word of God says that I put my word inside the hearts and man of every woman and man. I'm paraphrasing, that no man should have need to teach another man, right? And so what that says to me is that the answer is within. Right? The answer is within. It's been put there by whatever you want to call it, source energy, God, but it's been put there within. So every experience that you have, every conversation that you have is to turn you inward, right? Instead of continuing to seek outwardly for something. But we miss that part of it because we don't, that's not a popular conversation.
I want you to take me to the if you could take me to the moment, day, the time you knew, I've got the power, I've got something, I've got this thing. Remember that time and that moment? Like,
Well, I'll tell you, I don't remember the
yes.
exact moment, but I know that when I graduated from high school, I was 17. My brother is 13 months younger than me. He gave me a book, which I later learned that he took it off the book off my mom's bookshelf. I thought he bought it for me, but he gave me this book after I graduated from high school, The Power of Positive Thinking by Norman Vincent Peale. And
Mm.
I read that book, and I got to give you just a little backstory. I grew up Pentecostal, and going to a New Thought church. So I went to a Pentecostal church with my mom all day on Sunday. If you know anything about the Pentecostal church, we ate breakfast and dinner there, right? And so she took us there on Sunday, and then she took us to a New Thought church on Saturdays, all day on Saturday. And she would say to us we were homeless for a period of time. We walked a lot, and we spent a lot of time with my mom. And she would say to us, when we get to this other church, don't mention anything about the New Thought church at the Pentecostal church, and don't mention anything to the Pentecostal people about the new. And it was always curious to me. I said, Mom, why can't we do that? She said, because they would never understand, right? But in my childish mind, when I would listen, because back in those days, they didn't have children's church. So you sat in the service with your mom, and she made us stay awake. And the messages sound so similar to me. The words and the traditions were different. So when I read the book, The Power of Positive Thinking, for me, I graduated from high school. I was in the summer. I was working before I went to college. I must have read that book over 20 times. For me,
Okay.
in that book, and it's a tiny, tiny book, but in that book, I knew that after I finished reading that book the first time, that whatever Norman Vincent Peale had done for me, which what it was is he had bridged that gap for me. I could hear the teachings of the New Thought Church. I could hear the teachings of the Pentecostal church. And here was this guy in this book tying it all together for me. And I knew whatever that was, he had put in that tiny little book. The truth is, everything I desire is within me. Right? It is within me. I knew then when I was 17 years old, I went on this journey for what I now call peace. I started reading everything, and I was 17, interpreting it with a 17-year-old mind. I have evolved, but that has stayed with me. The power of knowing that I came equipped to win. It's mine to lose. I came equipped to, and that's not a material statement. That's a journey statement. I came equipped to handle every battle set before me. It is meant that each battle would sharpen me and sharpen me. For what purpose? So that I could then turn around. The whole journey is about taking care of your brother, taking care of your sister. It's about service. And so that's what that book did for me at age 17. It bridged that gap.
So it's funny that you say that. I have a friend. His name is Jeffrey Vincent Noble. Interesting name. Norman Vincent Peale, Jeffrey Vincent Noble. He was speaking one day, and he said, "We are all born to win, but we are conditioned to lose." Can you speak to that? I'm talking about everybody. What's that?
Oh, I love it. I have not heard that before, but I will just tell you, we are all born to win, but
conditioned to lose.
Okay, now stay with me on this. I don't know how much time we got, but I'm gonna just tell you what landed on my speech. Right? Okay, now I'm going to pick up on what's in your hand, and so I'm assuming that it's okay to talk frankly about the Word of God. So here we are in the Garden of Eden. You got to leave, and I'll make a coat of skin to put on you, right? A coat of skin. People get that kind of twisted, but I want to just talk about the skin that we have on, which is so needy. That's the burden, right? The skin has to be pampered. The flesh has to be pampered from the time you wake up until the time you lay down. It is very, very demanding. It needs to be fed. It needs so much. And then it has so desires. And sometimes we get to a place where we believe that we are the skin, we are the flesh. See, that's the conditioning to lose. We become this flesh. I'll put it this way, we become the car instead of the driver of the car. We believe that we are the car instead of the person who's driving the car. We live inside the skin. The skin doesn't rule anything, but we let the flesh make all of the decisions. So when we go back and realize that we are the driver, We make the decisions. We decide what we will get involved in. We decide what our response is going to be. We decide. We don't let the flesh decide. When we let the flesh decide, it conditions us to lose. The flesh is an infant. It doesn't have the intelligence of the inner man, the inner woman, the God presence. When we let that, when we live from that place, then we're living in we're at our worldly self-development. We're at a place of awareness. And now we recognize I'm born to win, which means that no matter what, I find good in this. I find a way to serve in this. My growth is your growth. We move in a direction that is towards home.
So I want to thank Ashley for setting up this interview. I appreciate the work that she's done. She's a hard worker and she is diligent about her work. I really appreciate her, Ashley. She said that you had some keys for me.
I had some. Say it one more time.
You have some keys for me. Some keys.
Some keys. K-E-Y.
Yes.
Keys.
Yes. Huh? I don't know. Can you see my hat?
Keys to success. Oh yes, yes.
Can you see my hat?
I can.
She said, "I need the keys. We need the keys.
Yeah.
Our community, we need these keys."
Well, I was.
Now we know that there's not. Go ahead.
Yeah, number one thing, you hit the nail on the head when we first started our conversation. The number one key is self-awareness, and you could call it self-development, but self-awareness is the thing that we run away from, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's we don't know ourselves. We know our celebrities. We think we know our politicians. We know the guy next door. We know fashion. Knowing ourselves is key to success, right? When you know yourself, right, and you pay attention to yourself without shame, guilt, or condemnation, right? This is how this works. We get to a certain point where we start seeing ourselves, and then we start judging what we see. Oh, no, that can't be me, or I'm ashamed to see that. So we close our eyes to that and we go right back into the darkness. But when we become self-aware of ourselves, and in that moment, no matter what we see, decide that we're still lovable. Decide and honor what we see. From that place, can we grow, right? You can't, and let me say it this way. If you walk into a room and you know you want the walls to be blue, you must first recognize that the wall is not blue. Right, that this is a yellow wall. That's being aware of what's currently there without judgment. There's nothing wrong with yellow, right? There's nothing wrong with the way you are right now. There's a reason for this, that, and the third. But you stand in this place and I'm aware this is me and I love me. I'm aware, I honor me because this is the me that got me to today. Now I want to get from here to there. I recognize that the same skill sets that got me here cannot take me there. I honor who I am today and I'm ready. I'm ready. That type of self-awareness, love and self-love and honoring, self-love, self-awareness, self-honoring, that is how we get our key to our next level of success. It's not when we do what we think we've been taught that works, that does not work. We cannot condemn ourselves to the next level of greatness. That does not work. We cannot stand in self-condemnation.
Let me have the title of your book.
Freedom is Your Birthright.
Wow.
It's available on Amazon. And in the spirit of Norman Vincent Peale, I pledge to write only but small books, tiny books that you can get less than 100 pages that you can get through in the afternoon, but are packed with life lessons.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So I have some ladies in my life. I have quite a few ladies, women in my life that are awesome. Family members, friends, associates, people that I just love. They're just amazing. And I'm going to send this to a lot of these women. I think it's over 50. It's a bunch of women that's just, I've been blessed with these women in my life. Mother, daughter, sisters, all the granddaughters, so they're going to get a copy of this show. I need you to speak to them. I need you to say something to them, give them a message that they could walk with and go empowerment.
Yeah, thank you for giving me the opportunity to do this. This is divine because right now I am doing a lot of talks on leadership as they pertain to women. And this is leadership, and hear me on this. It doesn't matter whether you're leading a CEO, a firm, or whether you're just leading yourself out of one condition into stable ground, fertile ground. Each and every one of us came equipped as leaders. Right? The first person we have to learn to lead is ourselves. I spoke a moment ago about the flesh. Realize that you are the driver of this vehicle. This vehicle is not driving you. Right? When you stand in your power of self-awareness, self-love, and self-honoring, there are things that you won't say, things that you won't do. Right? Become that woman right now in your private space, in your mind, in your heart. And then purpose where you want the body to go, and it will have no choice but to obey you. But stand up as leader of self before you can lead a child, another, a significant other. Lead you. You are the most important earthly team member that you will ever have.
Are you? Do you know anything about sports? Are you a sports person?
I run. I'm a runner, and the only, prior to having my son, who is now 18 and just graduated from high school, I would say I didn't watch any sports, but I've been a spectator of many, and I enjoyed that part of childhood with him. But personally, yeah, I run. I like to be athletic, but I don't know that much about sports.
Okay, because we're going to go deep. Because I was a sportsman. I grew up playing basketball. I would go in my room and close the door and take a hanger, make the hanger like a basketball hoop, and have my ball. And I was hours. Imagination, creativity. I was imagining all the players, left hand, right hand. I would do that for hours. So sports, and I became a professional boxer. I wanted to become a pro boxer. So sports is a big part of my life, and I believe that there's a lot of life lessons in sports. So I heard Michael Jordan say that, you know how intense he was with his sport. He said there was things that he learned about fatherhood from Kobe Bryant. Who becomes president when I tell you that? Something like that.
I believe that. I believe
he was Kobe's mentor now. He was Kobe's mentor. But there's things he learned about fatherhood from Kobe Bryant. Okay,
right, because,
sorry to cut you off.
So no, I believe that, because here's what it is in life, right? We play we all day long. If we remain conscious, right? We go between two roles: teacher, student, teacher, student, teacher, student. We play both of those roles all day long. And if we remain conscious and aware of where we are in this present moment, yeah, we learn from. I tell my daughter who's 21, just turned 21. And I said, I learned so much about perseverance and starting over from watching you. You teach me every day how to do that with a spirit of just, I can, and, with grace and with femininity. She's 21.
She's teaching you.
Right. So
look at that.
All day long, if we remain present, this is the journey. We're here. That's the only present. This is the only reason that we exist on the journey, is for service. I serve, I receive, I serve. You receive, you serve. So yes, I firmly believe that he learned from Kobe Bryant the skills that somebody thought you already had this, but Kobe had things to teach and he received.
Now, he was Kobe's mentor. Now, Kobe looked to him to learn about the game of basketball, but then he flipped it. I mean, that's amazing, huh?
Right. And so here it is. He's serving Kobe while Kobe is serving him. Right. This is teacher, student, all day long. That's all we do.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right. So I told you we're going to get deep. So I have been blessed man. I've seen a lot of great speakers and been around a lot of great speakers, teachers, authors, entrepreneurs, you name it. Les Brown, Jim Rohn, Wayne Dyer, Bob Proctor, Iyanla Vanzant. A lot of people I've been around. But then, you with me on this now? I say you're going to go deep, right?
I'm ready. Hit me.
My engineer said something one day that just set it off for me, man. I was like, yo, what you just said is up there with all of those great ones. He said his daughter can come to him. He can probably say it better than I can. If he's around, I might get him to come on and say it. He said his daughter can come to him and knowing that she could get, what she wants within reason, and with nothing, like you can just come to me. You can just come to me as a father. That's it. I don't know if I'm making sense there. Did you get that?
Yeah, his daughter said, you come to me. Come to me, I got you.
He told his daughter, come to me. You can come to me. And yeah, that's it. With no, for no reason, like you can just come to me. Doug, are you around, Doug? He's not around. He might have stepped away from the set. But the way he says it is beautiful. I said, man, what you just said was up there with all the great teachers that I've ever heard. When your daughter knows she can come to you with no reciprocation, what becomes present when you hear that?
Yeah, isn't that something? And what comes to my mind is that I'm a person who grew up without the presence of an earthly dad in my life on a regular basis, right? So when you hear something to you, you can come to me, right? One of my favorite phrases I used to tell people, when somebody used to say to me, I got you. Oh, what? It just, my heart would just melt, right? But it's what the Lord said, I got you.
Oh, he's there. Mr. Frazier.
Yes, sir.
I need you to tell that story about your daughter. I know one time you were saying that she was trying to get money from the guy, and he was like, why you just didn't come to me? But you go ahead. I love the way you said it. We now you get it on me. Go ahead.
Okay. She called me up one day and told me to come downstairs and meet her to pay for her taxes. I said, okay. I went downstairs and her and my little infant granddaughter got the car, and she said she was going to meet her baby's father because he was going to give her money. And I told her if he was interested in giving her money, he would bring it to her and don't ever do that again. And I told her that I'm the one man on the planet that would do anything for her and never want anything in return except for her to be happy. Period.
Oh my God. Dr.Dravon James. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
You give me Les Brown. You give me Wayne Dyer. You give me Iyanla Vanzant, Oprah Winfrey. You name it. That's up there with. It don't get better than that. That man right there, my engineer. He's a knucklehead, but I don't know. He said right there is just. You speak. Go ahead. You talk. Right. I can't even talk on that.
Right now,
Go ahead.
Right. So how often do you, and what a blessing. I gotta just say thank you for being that kind of dad on behalf of the millions of women who grew up without that kind of earthly influence in their lives, right? And so thank you for that first and foremost. But here it is, right? We have a Father in heaven who says the same thing, right? Come just the way you are. Ask me. I want to be that for you. Right? And then let me go one step further. Not only do I want to be that for you, I put a piece of me inside of you. I guarantee you're going to make it. This is my guarantee to you. This walk is not for the faint-hearted, right? There's going to be challenges. You're going to look with these naked natural eyes and you're going to see things, but turn to me. And all things turn back to me. That's challenging. We talked about self-development at the very beginning. That's
You're
challenging.
tuned in to GHCR, Grant Houses Community Radio, home of the Community News Service.
Continue, Dr. James.
Yeah. So that's challenging. We talk, and I'm going to go back to, what's in your hand, right? Oh my gosh, right? So I want to go to engineering, right? It's so funny. I like to write in poetry, whatever. And I remember one year I wrote this poem in your engineer story. Makes me think about it. My hand in your hand, right? I was not that little girl who knew what it was like to have her tiny hand in the big hand of her dad's, right? That's incredible, right? And you have that feeling of having that much power stand beside you. You're invincible, right? But the absence of that could have played two ways in my life, right? As it does in every woman's life. The absence of that could have said, well, any man's hand will do, right? But when you turn inward, you realize that the hand of God, the hand of the Creator, can't get any mightier than that. It can't get in your darkest day, right? So I think that's a beautiful thing to offer that up. And it does, that earthly relationship models and portrays and sets one up for the great Father.
Hey, wow. That's pretty powerful. I'm gonna jump around a little bit. Wow, this has been good. I was watching one of your interviews and you talked about Myers and Briggs. Mm-hmm. And you took that test and it told you something different from what you were doing. You're a pharmacist, and it told you, the lady who was giving the class pulled you aside and told you, said, hey, wait a minute, she told you something different. Can you speak to that? And I think I'm going to take that test, Myers and Briggs. Can you speak to that?
Oh, yeah. So that was a funny period in my life. I was in my early 20s. I had been practicing pharmacy, I would say, maybe a year and a half, probably not even quite 2 years. And so I got to this function. It was a company sponsored function, and they had this Myers-Briggs test. I'd never heard of a Myers-Briggs test. And I'm not going to speak for all kids from the South Side of Chicago, but that's just was not on my radar, right? But so I'd never heard of it. And I thought it was like a party favor. This is a little party game we're doing. So I took the test and answered the questions, and at the end, she called my name. I'm thinking to myself, yeah, I didn't want a prize. I did that really well. So at the end, everybody's there, and she asked to see me in the hallway. She said, I never saw a pharmacist score on this test like you did. And it didn't sound like it was a good thing. And so she said, you are not a pharmacist. Now I got the debt to prove that I am a pharmacist. I got the to prove that I am a pharmacist. I got the job. What are you talking about? She said, you're like like a square peg in a round hole, something like that. So I said, what does that mean? She said, well, she said, you can't be happy. So this is a company sponsored event. I got a lot of debt. Of course, I'm happy. I put on the proverbial Kool-Aid smile and got all that going. I said, oh, no, ma'am, I love this job, right? And she said to me, she said, I do not work for the company. She said, all the years I've been doing this, she said, the company has never asked to see the results. It's just something that they do. And she said, I've got to tell you, she said, you should be in ministry or motivational speaking. And she went down a whole line. And then, she could tell I was uncomfortable. She said, I'll give you the test. Right. And so I want to assure her that I was happy at my job. I was good at my job. She said, I will not, this conversation is just between you and I just had to tell you that. That was years and years and years ago. I've been a pharmacist now going on 32 years. And what that conversation did for me at the time was an external validation that I knew in my heart that I had been studying what I didn't even have a name for, but just these philosophies and this thing about, and I had journals and journals. I would just write about these principles. And so it took a lot of time for me to actually come out and make speaking part of my existence as a professional. But it did give me the courage back then to go into work that fulfilled my heart. right? Still as a pharmacist, but to find different ways to serve. And that getting to know oneself in an environment that is safe. It doesn't have to be a Myers-Briggs. Like I said, I'd never heard of that test before. I've never taken another one, but that made a impression on me that so much of my personality was coming out, or my true self, if you will, was coming out just by the simple answering of these questions, to the point where here's this lady who says, let me talk to you. She said, I'd never seen anybody say, you are this person. And I never thought about necessarily going into the ministry, but I knew that whatever Norman Vincent Peale did for me, that belief that I possessed this power, I wanted to show people that they had that same power. There was nothing special about Norman Vincent Peale, nothing special about me, other than that the Lord shines light on each and every one of us and allows rain to fall on each and every one of us, and what we choose to do with those experiences.
Mm-hmm. And I noticed that we talked about words, because I know a lot of people, they just throw words just come out. They just come out. They don't really give it a thought about what I'm saying, the meaning, how it affects the subconscious. How important is it to be careful of the words that we use and try to and use positive words as opposed to I can't, and I can't do this, and I can't. I hear it all the time. I'm like, come on, give me a break.
Okay, so I gotta tell you, when my kids were little, they say, "Ma, I can't do it." I said, "Well, can't stands for I am certainly not. I certainly am not trying." I said, "That's how I hear the word can't. Certainly am not trying." Right? So after a little while with me, they stopped using that phrase, but that word. But when I think about words, and we're talking candidly about the word of God, in the very beginning, spoke into existence, let there be. Right? So words they have that. Here it is. The Creator is modeling for us how it's done, right? Spoke that into, let there be light, let there be firmament, in the sea. Here it is. That's a word, that's a phrase. Be careful. And then to speak about ourselves. So this is Moses talking. Who shall I say, tell them I am, since that's it, right? That's so I am, and we use that phrase so carelessly because, again, we're letting the flesh make the decision, right? I am, and then we talk about the flesh. Oh, the flesh is tired. So we say, I am tired. Whoa. You're never tired, right? The flesh is tired. The flesh, just like you got to take your car. If you've been driving from where I am to Alabama, you're going to stop, check your oil. That's the car. That's not the person driving the car. Right. So we have to be very mindful that the words that we use to describe us are important. The words that we use to describe our condition are important. The words that we use to describe what we are creating are important. Right. And that we are, and here, this is baby stuff. This is small stuff. Right. But we don't do it because we are so externally focused. As I'm saying this, I'm sure your listeners are probably like, yeah, I already know that. Of course you do. You came with this awareness. You came understanding how important language is. Because the most important words that you will ever hear come out of your own mouth. They come from the source and they return to the source. They're very important.
Mm-hmm. Now, when you look at businesses, and especially all businesses, but like supermarkets is a good example. Before they place an order to get stuff or products for the store, they have to do an inventory. How important is it for us to do inventories within ourselves?
Right. Nobody who wants to build a house and doesn't take account of the cost, right? Or take inventory, right? This is important, right? And here's, when you talk about inventory, what comes to first thing I think maybe a listener may think is, well, we're talking about dealing in the past. The past serves one purpose, is to assure you that you stand as a victor and not a victim. No matter what happened in the past, right? So you take inventory of that. Yeah, this came against me. Look at me, I'm still here. Yep, that happened to me. Look at me, I'm still here. So the past is to affirm your present as the victor. That's how we inventory the past. These are accounts of me standing. I think in the introduction, we talked about what's in your hand. You talked about the slingshot. This is the account of me standing up. He said, that was a giant, right? It looks like an ant now because I'm telling you the story. I tell you the story. The victor tells you the story, not the victim. But the world would have us believe that, oh, that happened to you. Now that's just so terrible. If it happened and I'm still here, what's terrible about it? That's an affirmation that I came to win. I get to tell myself, I have all power to say what that event meant in my life. It either was the thing that stopped me or the thing that propelled me into motion. And if I'm still here, it propelled me into motion. Go ahead and claim that. Stand on that.
Right. And, I talked about sports. Well, football teams, when they come on the field, the coach has a playbook, and all those players have to know that those plays when they call the plays. But I noticed that we don't have playbooks for our life. I know there's the Bible and there's, the Power of Positive Thinking books, but for the most part, most of us don't have playbooks for life. Can you speak to that, Dr. James?
That's beautiful, right? Because you get to be the coach and the player. So you make
Wow.
the choice, right? And that's been the problem with most of us, right? Because we're looking for somebody to say, when my mother read this book to us, and I got to give all honor and praise to my mom who recently passed away, but she used to tell us this story on long walks about these ducklings, right? And the mother duckling was walking along, and you may have heard the story as a child too. And one of the little ducklings strayed away. And so this little duckling that strayed away found a cow, went to the cow, said, "Hey, are you my mom?" And the cow said, "No, I'm not your mom." And he goes and finds a turkey. "Are you my mom?" And he's going and finds all these different things. And we kind of are the same way, right? So we're here, we come into this embodiment on earth, right? And we are, we got this long umbilical cord. We know how to get home, but there's so many other distractions, right? So is the media, is that my guide? Is it the next self-help guru? No disrespect, because that's what I do. I teach self-help. But is it this person? Is it that person? All along, every voice that you hear is serving one purpose. Is they're supposed to turn you inward. It's like, okay, here are the jewels. Now you're going to have to put all these things together and make a run for it, make a play yourself. This is what you're going to need. Here are the tools. I'm going to teach you how to run. I'm going to teach you how to jump. I'm going to teach you, I'm going to build your body up, build your mind, but you're going to have to put together the play. And that's the thing that we don't want to do. We're looking for, let me do it like Iyanla did it. Let me do it like Oprah did it. And these are people that I admire. Let me do it like Wayne did it. Let me do it like Les Brown did it. Let me do it like my neighbor did it or my sister did it. And all along, you can only do it the way you meant to do it. You got the tools. So you got the tools. You have them all in there, but you'll never know how to write that play unless you spend time in the silence and self-awareness. Say, when I hear this is a trigger for me. Oh, I see that. But what is that trying to tell me? And just listen. Don't try to give answers because the answers are already there. Don't try to make them up.
So still in sports, Michael Jordan won a championship, but he had a team. He didn't do it by himself. LeBron James won a championship. He had a team. He didn't do it by himself. Kobe Bryant won a championship. He had a team. He didn't do it by himself. Most people, we try to play long ranges and we try to do it alone. We don't understand the importance of having a team. Players to work with us, to help us out. Now, let's say you get players on the team and it's not the right person. You can always change and get new people, new players on the team. How important is it to have a team when you're trying to reach your goals and your dreams?
Oh, very important. Very important. Like I said at the beginning, you're going to play the role all day long of teacher and student, right? So you're going to have to have teammates, right? Each one of these people, it's not, like I said, there's nothing wrong with having a coach, a self-help, whatever.
That was the next thing.
Self-help is so important. A coach, a therapist, a minister, all these things are so family members. These things are important because everybody is dropping seed. And then through all of that, I'm going to use what little I know about sports, because I was the person taking my son to the practices and the tryouts and dragging him here. We used to watch this shot science all day long for basketball, he and I. And so you have all these coaches and all these team members. And I'm his mom. I'm trying to help him. Miles, you can do it. That's my son. Miles, you can do it. I said, this is just physics. I'm looking at this and the trajectory of this, right? I'm doing all that. And he's taking it all in, right? And everybody's seeding into this kid. But if you don't get out there and practice and be willing to foul and to fall and to this, and you got to get in the game too. All the coaches, all the team members, if you don't get in the game, it won't matter.
Yeah, practice. That's a nice name, Miles. They say the name is very important about who you are, but that name, Miles, and Miles Davis, of course, he was a great artist. And he done a little boxing too, boxing training. He trained with my boxing teacher, so that's how I know that. And he wrote it in his book. But Miles, the name Miles is a special name because you're talking about traveling, you're talking about distance. That's a powerful name, Miles.
It's so funny you say that because most people miss that. I used to tell them all the time, I said, Miles, I named you because you're going to go the distance. You are the and then some.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So we joke around and sometimes I said, you are the and then some. They've not seen the last of you.
Mm-hmm. Wow. I want to send out blessings to your mom. I would think that she's done a great job just by seeing you. I know she'd be very, very proud of you. So I want to send out blessings to your mom.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Right. But now you get a phone call. You get a phone call. Can you still hear me?
Yes, I can.
You get a phone call and you answer the phone. And you might think it's a joke, but it's actually God calling you on the phone. God, why you call me on the telephone? Well, I just decided to do it on the phone this time. So he's going to tell you, I'm going to give you, Dr.Dravon James, I'm going to give you 30 days, 30 days, and you are going to rule the world for 30 days. That's if you don't drop the phone. Pass out. But God is going to give you 30 days. Now, what's going to happen in those 30 days? What are you going to do?
Okay, first thing I'm going to do. Well, let me tell you what I think the problem is. I think the problem is fear. And the word of God says, fear not, for I have overcome the world, right? So I think the problem is fear. We fear lack. We are constantly afraid of there not being enough of the good stuff to go around, right? So that's the number one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to teach people. If I got, the grace of God is that there is more than enough to live in this space of plenty. You don't need to hoard anything. And you open up your hands and let it go. You'll find that there'll be, they say that 3 fish and a loaf of bread are going to feed the multitude. So we don't have to have all this hoarding. You're still going to be king of your universe, queen of your universe. But we're going to let go of this fear of scarcity. Next thing I would do, probably just 3 things. And probably when I do 1 and 2, the third will come about organically. But the next thing I would do is teach people to see similarities in everybody. In the person that you think you just can't you can't stand this individual. You can't stand what they represent. Everything, your skin just crawls. There's a similarity in that person with you too, right? That person represents a part of the same whole that you represent. And so for us to see that when we look at people, no matter what we think they've done to hold us back, there's that fear that you're going to get more, take my share because of whatever about me. So letting go of that fear, letting go of looking for differences in each other. And then I believe organically, if I were able to have this power to do this all around the world, when those 2 things happen organically, the third thing happens, which is love of everyone including self and self first. When we live from that place, you think, well, I can't do that because I'm giving up me. You realize you fall in love with you so deeply, so passionately. You're like, are there other people? I don't know. It's you fall in love with you. You radiate love for you, and that beacon goes out. It goes, it goes out and it shines because hate fears and hate looks for differences. And when you fall in love, it's like I'm just light. I'm just radiating light. So that would be my top three. I think my work would be done if I could do that.
Okay. Good, because we can stop all the fighting that's going on, and I mean, people just young kids getting guns, shooting, people fighting one another in different countries, and it's just I know we can do better.
Yeah, and all this is over fear of something, right? I fear, you got something. If you got it, I can't get it. I mean, we live in this perpetual state of, not enough. It's not enough for me to have what I want if you get what you want. And that's just so not true.
There is enough.
Oh my gosh, there's more than enough.
More than enough. Look at that.
We live in the land, but they say the land of milk and honey. There's more that is overflowing.
Okay, so this is the final question because I know we went over a little bit. This is a personal question. I have a message that I want to take out to the world, to the people. The first step that I need to do to start taking this message out to the people and speaking to them with this message.
Oh, that's a very good question. So the first step to take your message to the world, this is going to sound so simplistic, but I think it is what I did. I took it to the group that I had the ear of, right? I took it to that group, and it wasn't family and friends. I used to be a consultant. So I mentioned I was a pharmacist. I was speaking on drug topics and compliancy with governmental laws and regulations. And at the end of that company talk, I would say 15 minutes. And I would talk to these practitioners about everyday peace, my love, my passion. I had their ear.
15 minutes? Give you 15 minutes?
I gave myself 15 minutes and I was so afraid about that, right? Nobody said it was okay. I would speed through my pharmacy topics and I would sort of I gave myself the 15 minutes. I stopped asking for permission because I just felt like I was bursting at the seams. I had all this writing that I'd never talked about. And so at the end, I would say, I want to share something with you all. And I talk about, everyday peace. That's the name of my philosophy as it relates to stress, everyday peace as it relates to dealing with conflict. And I would just put it in everything. And then I'm going to tell you what happened. That's one of that same group of physicians and nursing asked me to be a keynote speaker at an event one year. And that wasn't nothing new. I would go out and I'd speak on pharmacy topics. But when they said, when you come out, we're not asking you to come out and do a keynote speaking that has anything to do with pharmacy and, healthcare regulations. That little everyday peace thing that you do at the end? Talk about that. We want to hear about that. And that's how I got the courage to know. I said, wow, this thing is I gave myself the 15 minutes. And the first time they didn't tell me, I didn't get any note from my boss that somebody had complained. I came back next month. I did it again. And I did it. I said, what? Nobody's complained. Right. So so I think, you start where you are without permission. You give yourself permission.
Okay. Well, don't be surprised if you see me cruising through Baltimore with this message. Don't be surprised.
Well, I'm gonna look. The next, I'm gonna see you on my show. I'm gonna have my assistant reach out to you. You're gonna come on my show with your message. We're gonna do that.
Okay. All right. That's a go. So I want to thank you. Let me get your website, book information, and everything.
Yes. So my book is Freedom is Your Birthright. It's a tiny book available on Amazon.com. I'm giving away, if I may, I have a free gift for all listeners, which is a 7-day mini course on finding and discovering your passion. You can get that by visiting my website at www.drdravonjames.com. And that's DRDRA, B for victory, ON, James, gmail.com, or you can simply email me at Dravon, D-R-A-V for victory, O-N, James, at gmail.com. If you put free in the subject line, we'll get that free course to you. And then please check me out on social media under Dravon James at Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter.
Okay. All right. Thank you. We're going to do this again. This has been wonderful. I really enjoyed it. And continue to keep doing the great work that you're doing.
Oh, thank you so much. And I love that introduction. I'll never forget it. What's in your hand?
In your hand. All right. Talk to you soon, and you have a fantastic rest of the week.
You too. Bye-bye.
All right.
Who was so frail that he was traded for a broken down
Broken down horse.
Sitting in the science laboratory,